All right, back to my never-ending Jeep project. This is the 88 Comanche. It's a cold, rainy day, so I figured I'd come out in the shop and try to get something done. You might hear some noise because metal building, but I'm going to put on a steering box reinforcement, and it reinforces the whole front of the truck to a certain extent. It's got the sector shaft brace too, so it's got an extended nut and a bearing. Should prolong the steering box life and tighten it up. Also got a set of Rough Country drop brackets to try to retain the soy bar. It was an Amazon special, AM061. It's about 120 bucks. I've seen it on eBay as well. I really wanted the BoostWorks one. It looks like the best design setup. I spent a couple weeks trying to get a hold of them. I called and emailed, and I could never get a reply. So I'm not sure. I know it's a small operation. Maybe he's got something going on. So anyway, I gave in and ordered this Amazon special. So we'll see how it works out. So the factory Pitman Armanette was 1 5/16. I see this new one's 1.5 inches, and it would have to be a really deep socket. So I don't know if I even have one deep enough to work, but it doesn't cover it in instructions, but the splash shield's going to be in the way, and I need to be able to take it on and off without taking the whole steering brace off to do maintenance and stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and pull that down, and hopefully it'll fit back over the steering brace. I don't really know, so I'll let you know. All right, I did a test fit, and the issue I've got currently is I've got a C-Rock reinforcement currently for the steering box, and it wraps underneath the frame. So that's either needs to be cut off and got out of the way, which I kind of hate to do if I don't need to, or I could try to shim up the third bolt hole it uses behind it and see how that's going to work out. So I'm going to try that first. I'm not sure if I'm going to be satisfied with it or not, and so we'll let you know how it goes. Never fails. I have something to do, and I've got a rack, but there's always something broke down on it waiting for parts. So we're laying on the cold floor. So I'll let you know how it works out and what I decide to do. All right now we've got it loosely in place, held by a couple bolts, and the instructions tell you to tighten the clamp that clamps around the steering box itself at this point, and tighten the driver's side bolt, leaving the 1/8 inch gap. And then once you get it up in place, you can get to the passenger side. It's down there, and you can actually get to that one to finish clamping it down. Space is pretty tough on the other one. The steering box is in the way, so I'm going to go ahead and keep going and see where we end up. So I noticed a couple drips from my 2-year-old flow cooler water pump while I was down there putting on the steering box reinforcement. So here's a nice picture of the clamp from the top where it goes around the steering box, which I couldn't get before because the fan was in the way, but thanks, flow cooler. Now I got another project for the list. All right, sorry it's raining really hard now, but I've been messing around with this for a while, trying to figure out the order to install things, and of course did it wrong. So I had it all bolted up to the frame, and my thinking was this needs to be adjusted to center the bearing, but you can't get to this. There's a pocket here, and it's really hard to get that bolt in, and the steering box is up above. So You need to start that nut and bolt at least before you bolt the whole assembly on. The rest of them you get to after, so it's not that big a deal. You can throw a couple in, but the one in the driver's front corner is pretty much impossible to start. So I had to unbolt the strap from the steering box and loosen the bolts and drop it back down. So I would say get that one started, get it up in place, and then bolt the strap around the steering box and tighten the frame bolts, and we'll keep going. My plan is to just leave the back bolt in, and then I'll bolt the drop brackets here. It's a little fiddly tightening those with a wrench as opposed to just running these in with a ratchet real quick. So anyway, I think I'm about to that point where I'll go ahead and put the drop brackets on there and tighten the bearing, and I think we'll be good to go. It would be quite a bit easier if they'd have told you a few of those things, but I think we're in the home stretch. I'll let you know how it works out. All right, I finally got the steering box brace installed, at least for the moment. Went pretty good. I did forget to mention that the strap that mounts on the top of this around the steering box itself, there's the one bolt that you tighten according to instructions ahead of time. Leave the other one kind of loose until probably last, because when I tightened that, it kind of threw everything off and made it really hard to get the frame bolts out. Because I ended up pulling them out and then sticking the braces on there, and then I couldn't get them lined up. I had to loosen that up. And check the holes in the main brace before you put it on to make sure none of them need deburred, because a couple of mine I couldn't get bolts through, so it would have been a lot easier to deburr those before it was up over my head and shavings falling on my eyeballs. I'm not real happy with the angle of the sway bar here with these drop brackets on here. I used the existing Zone quick disconnect links I had, and I think now they're too long for the application because it's really pivoted down here and doesn't look very good. So I'll have to check around to see if I can find something different and shorter to do with the end links to correct that a little bit. Maybe one of you guys just ran into it and it has a solution. But anyway, it's on there. One last minor complication, my rubber OE spa shield no longer fits with the brace on there. And on the Renix 4-liter, the alternator is mounted real low and tends to get full of water and mud and ruins them. So I'll have to make myself some kind of spa shield for that. But for now, we're on the road, and we'll see you on the trail.